It was a cold, rainy evening, and the wind was howling outside like a cry in the dark. The small house stood at the end of a quiet street where no one really passed by after sunset. Inside the house, a single father named Sam was washing dishes, while his 7-year-old son Ethan sat on the floor playing with toy cars. The soft sound of the rain tapping against the window made the whole place feel still and peaceful. But that peace would not last for long. Sam dried his hands with a towel and turned to check on Ethan. He smiled as he saw his son making car sounds and pretending to race. Life had been hard since his wife passed away 2 years ago, but he did everything he could to give Ethan a safe and happy home. Sam worked long hours as a delivery driver and still made time for bedtime stories and pancakes on Sundays. He was tired but proud. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. Not loud, not soft, just firm and steady. 3 knocks. 1, 2, 3. Sam looked up. He was not expecting anyone. They did not have many visitors. No friends came over since he worked so much. Family was far away, and neighbors mostly kept to themselves. He walked toward the door with cautious steps. Ethan looked up and tilted his head. "Who is it, Dad?" he asked. Sam peeked through the small peephole. What he saw made him pause. A woman was standing on the porch. She had no umbrella. Her hair was wet and stuck to her face. She wore a thin coat and held something close to her chest. Her eyes looked tired but kind. She did not look dangerous, but something about her seemed strange. Sam opened the door just a little. "Can I help you?" he asked in a calm voice. The woman looked up and blinked through the rain. "I'm sorry to bother you," she said. Her voice was soft and shaky. "I don't mean to scare you, I just needed somewhere dry to stand for a moment." Sam looked at her soaked clothes and the way she hugged herself to stay warm. He looked back at Ethan, who was now standing behind him holding onto his shirt. It was raining harder now. Thunder rumbled in the distance. "Please, I won't stay long," the woman added. "I just didn't know where else to go." Sam hesitated. His hand gripped the door tighter. He had always been careful. Ethan's safety came first. But he also knew what it felt like to be alone and helpless. He had been there once not too long ago. He opened the door wider and stepped aside. "You can come in for a few minutes to dry off," he said. "Thank you so much," she said with a small nod and stepped inside. She stood by the entrance, water dripping from her clothes onto the floor. Sam handed her a towel. She took it with shaky hands and whispered thank you again. Ethan stayed close to Sam, still watching the woman without saying a word. She knelt down and looked at him with a gentle smile. "Hi there," she said. "What's your name?" Ethan stared at her. His face turned pale. He didn't answer. He looked like he had seen a ghost. Sam placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder. "It's okay, buddy," he said. "Her name is—" He turned to the woman. "I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name." "Lily," she said quietly. "My name is Lily." Ethan's lips parted. He took one step back. His eyes were wide. Then he whispered something so soft Sam almost missed it. "She's my teacher." Sam froze. He looked at Ethan, then at Lily, then back at Ethan again. "What did you say?" Sam asked. Ethan pointed at Lily with a small shaking hand. "She's my teacher," he said louder. "She used to teach my class. She was there before Mrs. Clark came." Lily's face changed. Her eyes filled with surprise and something else. Was it sadness? Was it fear? She looked at Ethan. "Your name is Ethan," she said slowly. "You were in my class at Hillside Primary." Sam felt his heart beat faster. He remembered when Ethan's teacher suddenly left last year. There were no answers. Just that she was gone and someone new took over. Ethan cried for days. He never stopped asking what happened to the nice teacher who gave out gold stars and told funny stories. Sam looked at Lily again. "How do you know my son?" he asked. Lily's eyes welled up with tears. "I never forgot him," she said. Thunder cracked outside again. The house felt suddenly colder. The 3 of them stood in silence. A stranger, a child, and a single father, all in one room, bound by something they didn't understand yet. Sam felt something in his chest, a mix of fear and curiosity. He didn't know why she was here. He didn't know what was coming next. But he knew this was not just a simple visit. This was something more. And it all started with a knock at the door. The rain kept falling outside like a soft whisper, but inside the house everything felt louder. The silence between Sam, Ethan, and the strange woman named Lily was heavy like a weight pressing on the walls. Ethan stood close to his father, his small hand gripping the edge of Sam's shirt like a shield. Lily stayed near the doorway, her clothes still damp, her eyes red and unsure. Sam took a breath and guided Lily to the couch. She moved slowly, like each step carried a memory. She sat down carefully and wrapped the towel tighter around her shoulders. Ethan didn't take his eyes off her. He looked like he was trying to remember something important and painful at the same time. Sam walked to the kitchen and made tea. The sound of the kettle boiling was the only thing that filled the silence. He came back with a steaming mug and handed it to Lily. She took it with both hands and gave a small nod. "Why did you come here?" Sam asked gently. Lily looked down into her cup and held it close like it was the only warm thing in her life. "I didn't plan to," she said. "I was just walking in the rain. I didn't know where I was going. And then I saw your house. I was so tired I knocked without thinking." Ethan stepped a little closer. He was still staring, still unsure. "You were my teacher," he said again. "I remember your necklace. You used to wear it every day." Lily touched her neck. There was no necklace there now. She smiled sadly. "It was a silver star with a blue stone," she said. "It was a gift from my mother. I lost it last year." Ethan nodded slowly. "You read us stories about dragons and made drawings on the board with funny faces. You called us your tiny heroes." Lily's eyes filled with tears. "Yes," she whispered. "You were my tiny heroes. I loved my class more than anything." Sam sat across from her, his hands folded. "But you left without saying goodbye," he said. "You just vanished. The school said you were gone and never coming back." Lily looked down. "I didn't want to leave," she said. "But something happened, something I couldn't stop." Ethan walked over to her. He sat on the edge of the couch beside her, but didn't speak. He just watched her quietly, like he was waiting for her to finish. Lily took a deep breath and began to speak again. "My life was good once. I loved teaching. I had plans to stay for many years. But then I met someone I thought cared about me. We got married, quickly, too quickly." Sam listened carefully. Ethan stayed still. Lily's hands trembled slightly as she held the cup tighter. "At first he was sweet, kind, and funny," she said. "But soon he changed. He got angry over small things and started yelling. Then came the pushing, the blaming, the fear. I hid it for a while. I wore long sleeves and fake smiles. I told the kids I was just tired. But one day I came to school with a bruise on my face, and someone reported it. They asked me questions. I told them part of the truth, but not everything. They said I needed help, but before anything happened I ran. I left my job, my home, everything. I couldn't let him find me again." Sam felt his chest tighten. He had seen pain before, but this kind of pain was different. It was the kind that left someone hollow inside. Ethan looked at her with big eyes. "You didn't say goodbye," he said quietly. "I thought you didn't like us anymore." Lily put the cup down and turned to him. She reached out her hand, but stopped halfway. "I never stopped caring about you, Ethan," she said. "Not even for a day. I thought about you and your smile and your drawings with the red crayon." Ethan blinked and slowly took her hand. It was small and cold, but it didn't matter. He held it like he was holding something fragile. "Do you still remember my dragon story?" he asked. Lily smiled for the first time since she arrived. "Yes, I do," she said. "You wrote it on green paper and called him Flamey." Sam watched the two of them and felt something inside shift. He didn't know what to say. He didn't know what to feel. But he knew something big had just happened in his living room. The storm outside began to calm. The rain slowed down. The air felt less heavy. But just as the house began to feel safe again, there was another knock at the door. Sam stood up quickly. He walked to the door with careful steps. He looked through the peephole, and his heart skipped a beat. A man in a black coat stood outside. He looked angry, wet, and serious. And he was staring right at the door like he already knew who was inside. Sam turned to Lily. Her face had gone pale again. She gripped Ethan's hand tightly. "That's him," she whispered. Sam stood frozen near the door, his hand still resting on the knob, as the rain continued to fall softly outside. He didn't open it. Not yet. He turned around slowly and looked at Lily. She was gripping Ethan's hand, so tight her knuckles had turned white. Her eyes were wide and filled with fear. "That's him," she whispered again. Her voice barely came out. Sam walked away from the door and drew the curtain closed. He motioned for Lily and Ethan to step back and stay quiet. The knocking came again, louder this time. Then silence. Then footsteps walking away. Sam waited a moment before peeking out the window. The man was gone. At least for now. Sam walked back to the living room, his jaw tight, his mind racing. He sat down across from Lily and looked her in the eyes. "Tell me the truth," he said. "I need to know everything." Lily took a deep breath. She looked at Ethan, then back at Sam. "I didn't want any of this to come near him," she said. "I didn't plan to find you or your house or Ethan. It just happened." She looked down at the floor and began to speak. "His name is Mark. We met 4 years ago at a bookstore. He seemed kind and gentle. At first he listened to me, told me I was special, said he loved how much I cared for my students. We got married quickly. I was happy for a short time, I really was. But it didn't take long before things started changing." Sam listened quietly while Ethan leaned against his side. The boy didn't speak, he just held on to his father's arm. "At first he got jealous when I worked late or when I talked to parents at school. Then he started showing up outside the classroom, accusing me of things I didn't do. I tried to explain, but every word made him angrier. One night he pushed me so hard I hit the floor and couldn't move for a few minutes. I still went to work the next morning because I didn't know what else to do. I couldn't leave the kids, I didn't want to leave them." She paused and looked at Ethan. "But then I saw you," she said softly. "You were drawing a picture of a happy family with a house and a big sun in the sky. I remember thinking, I don't want to bring my darkness into your light. I told the school I needed time off. They offered help, but I was scared. I left without telling anyone where I was going. I thought if I disappeared, he wouldn't find me." Sam looked at her closely. "But he did find you," he said. Lily nodded slowly. "I stayed in shelters. I moved from town to town. I even changed my name once. But he always seemed to find me eventually. This time I didn't even know he was nearby until I saw him on the street 2 days ago. I ran again. I kept walking until I ended up here." Ethan looked up at her. "Why didn't you come back to the school?" he asked. "I missed you." Lily's face softened and her eyes filled with tears again. "I missed you too, Ethan. I missed all of you. But I was afraid. I didn't want to bring my problems to your classroom." Sam sighed and rubbed his forehead. He didn't know what to think. He had opened his door to a stranger, and now he was deep in something he didn't fully understand. But when he looked at Ethan and saw how calm he had become sitting near Lily, he knew this was no accident. Ethan walked over to Lily and took her hand again. "You always told us to be brave," he said. "Are you still brave?" Lily smiled through her tears. "I'm trying to be," she said. "I didn't feel brave for a long time, but tonight I remembered how strong I used to be when I was with my students with you." The room fell quiet again as the rain began to slow. Sam stood up and walked to the window. He looked outside carefully. The man was still gone. He walked back to Lily. "You can stay here for the night," he said. "But tomorrow we're going to figure this out together." Lily looked at him surprised. "Why would you help me?" she asked. Sam looked at Ethan and then back at her. "Because my son trusts you," he said. "And because no one should have to run forever." Lily nodded slowly. She looked tired, but a little more at peace than before. Ethan smiled and leaned his head on her shoulder. The storm outside had passed, but the one inside the house was still quieting down. And though the night was not over, something had already started to change. The morning light came slowly through the window. The rain had stopped, and the world outside was quiet and still. The sound of birds singing felt soft and peaceful after the long, stormy night. Inside the small living room, Sam sat in his chair, holding a warm mug of coffee, his eyes fixed on the woman sitting across from him. Lily looked different in the daylight, her face no longer hidden by shadows, her hair still damp but brushed back gently. She held Ethan's notebook in her lap, reading the drawings and silly poems he had written over the past few weeks. Ethan sat beside her, pointing at his favorite pages. "That's the one where I drew the superhero dog," he said with a grin. "He has rocket feet, and he saves cats stuck in trees." Lily smiled and laughed softly. "I remember when you used to draw like this in class," she said. "You always gave your characters funny hats." Sam watched them quietly. He still had questions. He still didn't know what to do. But for the first time in a long while he saw Ethan happy. Truly happy. After breakfast, Ethan went to his room to play, and Sam sat with Lily at the kitchen table. The sunlight touched her face, but her eyes still held something heavy. "I need to know everything, Lily," Sam said. "I want to help, but I have to understand what we're facing." Lily nodded slowly. She placed her hands on the table and stared at them like they held the past. "There's something I haven't told you yet," she said. "Something I've never told anyone." Sam leaned forward, listening carefully. Lily took a deep breath and spoke slowly. "When I left the school, I thought things would get better, but they didn't. Mark found me again not long after I ran. He begged me to come back, said he had changed. I didn't believe him, but I was tired and scared, and I didn't know where else to go. So I met him at a public place just to talk, but he was angry I didn't do what he wanted. He followed me after that. Everywhere I went I saw him. Outside grocery stores, near shelters, even once outside a library. I told the police, but without proof they couldn't do anything." Sam clenched his jaw. He didn't like where this was going, but he said nothing. He let her continue. Then one night he showed up outside a shelter. He yelled at the door and scared the other women inside. The manager called the police. He ran, but they gave me a warning. They told me to disappear again. And I did. Her voice cracked and her hand shook. Sam reached out and gave her a napkin. She wiped her eyes and went on. But 2 weeks later I got a call. From a school in another town. They said a man had come asking about me. He said I owed him money. He gave them my old name and showed them a picture. That was when I knew he wouldn't stop. I started using a different name again. I threw away my phone. I stopped talking to anyone from my past. She looked up at Sam, now tears running down her cheeks. I left the children I loved because I was scared. I left Ethan because I thought I was keeping him safe. But maybe I was just hiding. Maybe I was running from everything. Sam's chest felt tight. He wanted to speak, but couldn't. He had never seen someone carry so much pain in their voice. Lily reached into her bag and pulled out a small worn notebook. "This is the last thing I saved from my old classroom," she said. "It has notes for my students. Ethan's is in here too." He drew a picture of a star and wrote, "Thank you for being my teacher." Sam took the notebook and looked at the page. It was simple. A yellow star with a smiley face and little words in red crayon. But it hit him harder than anything else. He looked at Lily again. "I can't promise this will be easy," he said. "But you're not alone anymore." Lily nodded slowly. "I don't want to keep running. I want to face this, even if it's hard." At that moment Ethan came running in. "Dad, someone's outside," he said. Sam stood up quickly. He looked through the window. It was not Mark. It was a woman, middle-aged, wearing a jacket with a school logo. She held something in her hand and looked unsure where to knock. Sam opened the door. She looked up and smiled nervously. "Hello, I'm looking for Lily. I work at Hillside Primary. I think I have something that belongs to her." Lily stepped forward. The woman held out a small silver necklace. A star with a blue stone in the center. Lily gasped and held it to her chest. "I thought I lost this forever," she whispered. And in that moment, for the first time in years, she felt like maybe she could go back. Maybe she could be herself again. The air outside was calm, but inside the house something had changed. The moment Lily touched the silver necklace with the blue stone, it was like a piece of her heart returned. She held it in her hands, as if it were made of something more than metal, something full of memories and light. Ethan stood beside her, looking up with wide eyes. "Is that the one you always wore in class?" he asked. Lily smiled through her tears and nodded slowly. "It is. I thought I lost it forever. The woman from the school explained how it had been found in a drawer during some classroom repairs. She had been trying to track Lily down for months after hearing what had happened from another teacher. She said many of the students still remembered her. Some had even written letters she never got to see. Lily's face lit up with a mix of joy and sadness. She thanked the woman, who then wished her well, and left quietly. The house felt warm again, almost safe, almost like hope was trying to come back. Later that afternoon, Sam made lunch, while Ethan played on the living room rug with his toy soldiers. Lily sat by the window, holding the necklace and watching the clouds. She looked peaceful, but Sam could see the worry still hiding behind her eyes. He sat down beside her and spoke gently. "You don't have to run anymore," he said. "There are people who care now, including me and Ethan." Lily looked at him and gave a small nod. "I want to believe that," she said, "but I still feel like he's out there watching, waiting." Sam placed a hand over hers. "We'll protect you. We're not going to let him hurt you again." Just then Ethan's voice cut through the room. "Dad, someone's outside again," he said. Sam stood up quickly and walked to the window. His body tensed as soon as he saw the figure standing across the street. It was the same man from the night before, Mark. He wore a black coat and dark jeans, and his face was hard and cold. He wasn't moving. He was just staring at the house. Sam's heart beat faster. He pulled the curtain closed and turned to Lily. "He's back." Lily stood slowly, her face pale. She walked to the window and peeked through the curtain. Her hands began to shake. "He found me again," she whispered. Sam grabbed his phone and started dialing. "I'm calling the police," he said. "No," Lily said quickly. "If they come, he'll leave, and we won't have proof again. That's what always happens. He runs, and nothing changes. He just follows me somewhere new." Sam looked at her and lowered the phone. "So what do we do?" he asked. Lily didn't answer right away. Then she walked to her bag and pulled out an envelope. It was thick and sealed and had a small piece of paper taped to it. She handed it to Sam. "I wrote this 6 months ago," she said. "It's everything he did. Dates, places, photos, letters he sent me. I've been afraid to show it to anyone, but now I want to." Sam looked at the envelope. He knew this was more than just paper. This was her truth. This was the fight she had been avoiding. They sat together and talked through a plan. Lily agreed to finally speak with the police and share everything. Sam promised to go with her. They would not face this alone. The next hour passed slowly. Ethan played quietly, sensing the tension in the room. Lily sat close to him, reading a story to calm them both. Then came the sound they feared. A loud knock on the door. This time, there were no soft taps. Just sharp, hard pounding. 3 times. Then, again. Sam stood up and walked to the door. He didn't open it. He raised his voice through the door. "Go away. We know who you are. The police are on their way." A pause. Then the voice came through the door. Rough. Angry. "You can't hide her from me. She's my wife. You don't get to decide." Lily stood up and stepped beside Sam. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was steady. "No. You don't control me anymore. I'm not afraid of you." The silence that followed was thick. Then they heard the sound of footsteps. Walking away slowly. Then gone. Sam looked through the window. Mark was no longer there. This time. They didn't feel weak. They didn't feel like victims. They had stood up to him. Together. Lily turned to Sam. "I'm ready to end this. For real this time." Sam nodded. "We'll go to the station first thing in the morning. You're not running anymore." Ethan ran over and hugged Lily's leg. "Are you okay?" he asked. Lily knelt down and hugged him tight. "I'm okay now," she said, "because I have people who care. And I'm not going to hide anymore." And as the sun began to set over the quiet street, a single house stood not in fear, but in strength. The next morning came with quiet light and clear skies. The storm was over, and the world outside felt fresh and clean. Inside the house, the air was calm, but full of something new. Something soft and strong. Something like hope. Sam stood in the kitchen making breakfast. The smell of toast filled the room. Ethan sat at the table drawing with colored pencils. His pictures were brighter today. A sun, a house, 3 smiling people holding hands. Lily walked in slowly. She had not slept much, but her face looked different. Not scared, not lost, just ready. She sat down beside Ethan and kissed the top of his head. "Are you excited for the day?" she asked. Ethan nodded. "We're going to the police station, right?" Lily smiled. "Yes, we are. It's time to tell the truth and stop hiding." Sam brought over plates and sat with them. He looked at Lily with quiet pride. "You're strong. You're not alone. We're with you all the way." Lily nodded and looked at the small envelope on the table, the one filled with everything she had kept hidden for too long. She placed it in her bag and took a deep breath. After breakfast, they got ready and left the house. The walk to the station was quiet but peaceful. The wind was light. The trees swayed gently, and Lily's steps were steady. At the police station, they met an officer named Claire. She was kind but serious. She led them to a small room and offered them water. Lily handed her the envelope and began to speak. Her voice shook at first, but as she spoke, more the words came easier. She told them about Mark, about the fear, the hiding, the threats. She showed the photos, the notes, the messages. She answered every question. And when it was done, she felt something lift from her chest. Claire promised to start a case right away. She said Lily had done the right thing, and now the law could protect her. There were programs and safe places and legal steps that could be taken. When they left the station, the sun was higher in the sky. Lily closed her eyes and felt the warmth on her face. She smiled. It felt real, not forced, not small, real. Sam placed a hand on her shoulder. "I'm proud of you," he said. "You didn't just save yourself. You showed Ethan what real courage looks like." That evening they sat on the back porch watching the sky turn orange. Ethan leaned against Lily, reading a book. Sam brought out cups of hot cocoa. They didn't talk much. They didn't need to. The quiet said enough. Lily looked at Ethan and brushed hair from his forehead. "You're my tiny hero," she whispered. Ethan smiled. "You're my brave teacher." Sam looked at them both and knew things were different now. Not perfect, but better. Days passed, then weeks. Lily stayed in the guest room and slowly began to rebuild. She met with a lawyer, filed paperwork, started therapy. And one morning, she said something no one expected. "I want to teach again. Maybe not now, but one day. I want to be back in the classroom. That's where I belong." Sam and Ethan both smiled, because they knew she meant it. One afternoon, a letter came in the mail. It was from Hillside Primary. The principal had heard what happened and wanted to invite Lily to visit. They were holding a school open day. Old students would be there. So would parents and teachers. Lily held the letter for a long time before speaking. "I think I'm ready to go back. Not to stay, just to visit, to see what I left behind, and maybe to say goodbye the right way." On the day of the event, Lily wore a simple dress and a necklace, the silver star with the blue stone. Ethan held her hand as they walked into the school. Children ran in the halls. Laughter echoed. The walls were filled with art and color. And there in the main room were her old students, bigger now, smiling when they saw her. One girl ran up and hugged her tight. "I missed you, Miss Lily." Lily cried, but this time it was happy. She spoke with the kids, shared stories, and when it was time to leave, she felt complete. That night back at home, Lily sat on the porch with Sam and Ethan. They watched stars appear in the sky. She took a deep breath and let it out slowly. "This is what healing feels like," she said. "Not forgetting, but remembering without fear." Sam nodded. Ethan leaned on her shoulder. And together, in that quiet moment under the night sky, they began a new chapter. One filled with trust, with strength, and with love.